Ford's Mustang Mach-E shows its wild side in this top 487 PS GT model. Based on the extended range battery all-wheel drive variant, it dials up the desirability with a bespoke cabin, but more importantly it gets MagnaRide adaptive damping and more pulling power than we've ever seen from a Ford badged performance car. All the ingredients seem to be in place here for a really special high-performance EV, and you feel it within the first half mile of setting off with the wraparound GT performance driver's seat, the more direct steering, and the fairly unyielding quality of ride. It's quite different dynamically from the standard model, and a far more serious piece of kit than merely fast EVs like the Volkswagen ID.4 GTX or the Polestar 2 dual motor, which is as you'd hope given the considerable price premium required here. This GT starting point is the all-wheel drive system and 88 kilowatt hour extended range battery of the top version of the ordinary model, but here power has been teased out to 487 PS, and there's more torque at 860 Newton meters, around 15% more than Ford offered with its old GT supercar. Sprinting to 62 miles an hour from rest in the Mach-E GT takes just 4.4 seconds, 3.7 seconds from a rolling start, which is 1.4 seconds quicker than the standard car and faster than any Ford the brand has previously sold in Europe. Top speed is limited to 124 miles an hour, though that's 13 miles an hour faster than the standard model. Earlier we mentioned the rather firm ride quality. Well, you can tweak that via Ford's MagnaRide adaptive damping system, this being the only Mach-E to which that setup is fitted, working via the car's active, whisper and untamed drive modes, the latter setting working with an emotive drive growl that we reckon is the best performance EV soundtrack that we've come across. The adaptive damping system electronically controls magneto-heological fluid inside the damper to respond in real time to changing road conditions, and is supposed to seamlessly adjust the vehicle's character in line with the selected drive mode. Ford says that it tuned these magneto-heological dampers with European roads in mind, but in our experience, whatever drive setting you choose, the setup always feels, well, pretty firm, so try before you buy. Where those firmer dampers offer a real advantage is of course when you throw the car into tight corners at speed, at which point, in the often slippery conditions of our tests, the car always felt brilliantly grippy, planted and confidence inspiring. When driving like this, you're inevitably always very aware of this EV's prodigious 2,198 kilogram curb weight, but not to the same degree as is the case with the conventional model. We came away a little disappointed by the compromised handling of that car. This one showcases Ford performance engineering expertise much better. This isn't just a Mach-E with extra power and a body kit. It feels a much more complete all-round interpretation of the whole design. Another reason why that is lies with this GT model's bespoke braking and tyre specifications. Ford worked with Pirelli to develop a bespoke 245/45R20 tyre compound and tread pattern specifically to complement the model's additional power, torque and all-wheel drive performance. Fitted to 8-inch wide wheels, an inch wider than the standard Mustang Mach-E's rims, the unique tyres provide impressive grip and noticeable extra lateral stability when pressing on through tight turns. The Mustang Mach-E GT's 385mm diameter Brembo ventilated front brake discs are the largest of any Mustang Mach-E model and would be useful in the unlikely event that you ever ventured onto a track with this car. Should that happen, you can activate the extra provided circuit-only Untamed Plus drive mode, which we expect very few owners to ever use. The key stat here is driving range, WLTP rated for the GT at 304 miles, which is 37 miles less than the conventional all-wheel drive extended range 351 PS model. Next, there are issues of charging to consider. A Ford connected wall box can top up the battery from 10 to 80% in around 6 hours. A full charge from 0 to 100% will take more like 14 hours. And when you're out and about, well, like all Mach-E models, this one comes with ultra-rapid charging capability, courtesy of a Type 2 CCS inlet. With peak charging power of 150 kilowatts, a Mustang Mach-E GT could add driving range of up to 57 miles within 10 minutes of charge time at a DC fast charging station. Such a charging point would take 45 minutes to charge the battery from 10 to 80%. The flagship GT variant is recognisable by its special GT front grille design and unique bumpers. From the side, you might notice the 10mm lower ride height and these 20-inch cast aluminium black machined wheels, which are shod with specially developed tyres and which feature 19-inch red calipers for the bespoke Brembo brakes. Inside at the wheel, the main cabin difference with this flagship model is the addition of GT performance seats, trimmed in grey Sensico faux leather. Ford's done its best with other little touches to make this car's cabin feel like that of a £75,000 car. White fascia stitching, this smart cross-hatched silver mid-level dash strip, the grey fabric finished soundbar panel ahead of the passenger and so on. But it's not quite enough. The steering wheel, circular gear selector and column stalks are all borrowed from a Ford Focus, which isn't really acceptable at this price point. These front seats come from the ST version of that humbler Model 2, but we're happy with that because these winged chairs look and feel great. As usual in a Mach-E, the cabin vibe is dominated by this Tesla-like portrait-style 15.5-inch centre freestanding infotainment touchscreen incorporating a lower rotary dial. This Microsoft-developed monitor works using Ford's latest Sync 4 operating system that's able to accept over-the-air updates and can quickly learn your preferences. But there's too much on it, drive modes for instance, that requires you to look away from the road. Drive stuff works better on an instrument binnacle screen, but this Mustang's narrow 10.2-inch letterbox-shaped binnacle display isn't big enough to accommodate much of it, and unfortunately isn't assisted in that by any sort of head-up display. Time to take a look in the rear, where the doors must also be accessed via a strange little button. Once back here, as you'd hope, you'll find that a passenger of over 6 foot can quite comfortably sit behind a driver of the same size, helped by the fact that the roofline doesn't taper back until quite a long way in the body, hence the rather impressive levels of headroom for a coupe-style SUV, even with this fixed panoramic roof, which adds a welcome airy feel. Let's finish with a look at the boot, accessible as you'd expect via this powered tailgate. Now, as with the ordinary Mach-E, we're disappointed with the 402 litre capacity, the smallest in the segment, and by this flimsy tonneau cover above it. When you flatten everything, 1,420 litres of space is opened up. We're not quite finished yet because there's also further so-called frunk space beneath the bonnet. It's an 81 litre space, mostly taken up with this central compartment for the 2 main charging leads. But like the mega box in the boot of a Ford Puma, it has a drain hole at the bottom so that you can easily wash muddy boots or muddy charging leads. Neat. So, is the Mach-E GT any more of a Mustang? No, not really. If you adore everything the old Mustang sports car still stands for, you'll find a little of that here. But what this GT variant does do is to showcase Ford performance handling prowess in a way that the rather clumsy feeling standard Mach-E just doesn't. Unlike in that car, there's real driving enjoyment to be had here, provided you can live with the uber firm ride. We like the seats, the sound, the steering and the Magna Ride damping system. And the power of this car lifts it onto a different level from cheaper performance-orientated segment rivals. It feels like an altogether more serious beast. Which leaves us, well, where? The Mach-E represents the future of Ford. The Mustang model line draws from its past. In its ordinary form, this car left us uncertain whether those two things really matched together. After trying this GT model though, we're that little bit more convinced.